Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My husband is demanding to go to his ex's funeral. After that, can't take time off of work when I want to? What about when you don't want? And after that, am I the jerk for telling my ex-husband that his wife's feelings are not mine or our kid's problem? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen has to eat anchovies. But then my breath would smell like yours, Reddit boy. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My husband is demanding to attend his ex's funeral. I'll admit that I'm biased right off the bat. I couldn't stand her. I call her his ex to myself and others. He called her his friend. We're all in our early 40s. She passed recently from aneurysm. I've been with him for 10 years now, but he had known her for 20 plus years. The way he tells it, they were friends in college, decided to date, got married, then realized they weren't a great couple and decided to just be friends. All that happened years before I met him. He was clear early on that she was important. A couple months into dating, it came up that his friend was actually his ex-wife. He explained the above to me, saying that she was one of his closest friends and that it was purely platonic. I expressed some discomfort at him being so close to an ex, and he told me, "That's fine. If you have a serious issue with it, let me know now and save us some time. I'll choose her. I like you and all, but I've known her for over 12 years and she's one of the most important people in my life. You'll have to be okay with that if you want us to be a thing." When we were engaged, I asked again. He gave me this perplexed look and asked, "Why would us getting married affect my friendships?" I sucked it up and went along. I resented every moment of knowing her, especially when we had to be social. She understood some part of him that I couldn't. Her husband was friends with mine as well, so it's not like I could use him as an angle. He'd have lunch with her. They'd go to their geeky movies and whatever. The few times I brought it up, he said, "We had this conversation before. You had your chance to back out." She passed after they had lunch the other day on her way to the car. He spent a bunch of time crying, but honestly, I was relieved. He was working with her husband on funeral planning. I told him, "You don't think you're going, do you?" My argument summed up. She's gone, so she's not a factor anymore. He doesn't get to use his "she's my friend" excuse since she doesn't exist anymore. He had his cry for a couple of days. He gets to be done with mourning her already. There's no need for him to go to the funeral since I wouldn't want her at his. He was the angriest I've ever seen him when I told him that, replying that he'll be going no matter how I feel, and that he's willing to burn this to the ground while holding up his wedding band. Besides you, she was the closest friend in my life. Him, her husband, and my sisters are calling me an insensitive jerk over this, all saying that there was no romantic aspect to their relationship and that I'm heartless. Her husband went so far as to call me a ghoul for how I've reacted. I never felt their relationship was appropriate, and I hid that for years because I wanted to be with my husband. Now that she's gone, I don't feel I should have to hide it anymore and can speak freely. Am I the jerk for just wanting him to be done with her and for him not to attend the funeral? You're the jerk. When he divorces you, he probably won't have to explain his friendship with you to the next woman because, seriously, who'd want to stay friends with a woman who had treated you like this? You're the jerk. Congrats on your impending divorce. If she doesn't exist anymore, why are you still so jealous of her? He can't even leave you for her now, so I think it's time you get past it. You're the jerk. You can speak freely, and he can leave after finding out how heartless you actually are. Fair enough. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her husband? Please let us know. Can't take time off when I want? What about when you don't want? In 2019, I started working for a big accounting firm right after college. I already had a bit of experience because of a few internships, and I always worked part-time ever since I was 16. But I was mainly hired because I spoke 4 languages and they had business with a lot of foreign clients. I was hired as a consultant, but I did a lot of things. I really enjoyed organizing big files, and I had a lot of experience with Excel since I had paid for a professional course during college. So besides my usual work of handling some clients and doing my reports, I was also doing a lot of things like sales reports, clients reports, basically most of the Excel files, and a lot of computer-based tasks. When lockdown hit and we started to work from home, I was able to automate most of my tasks during 2 or 3 months. I was able to program a code that would basically do the sales reports, most important file, and a few more automatically, and I could update it if I needed. My boss was over the moon with the update part, but I did not tell him that it was being done automatically. I did not tell anyone, for a matter of fact. This gave me a lot of extra time to talk to clients and pick up a few extra new ones, which gave me a considerable pay raise, since I was highly praised during the meetings with my direct boss and a few higher-ups. Whenever I did take time off, I had to delegate all of my tasks and client meetings to anyone I trusted, which was mostly Jimmy, fake name. Jimmy was a good personal friend of mine and was married to my cousin, so we would occasionally take time off at the same time for a vacation or family gathering. I was saving my vacation days for summer and winter, and in the only days I took during 2020, I let my tasks run automatically, and I told Jimmy that he didn't have to do it, and he really didn't ask questions since it was less work for him. However, me and Jimmy took a few days off at the same time to go to a wedding in another country, and I was told by my boss that he would let it happen, but to not make it a habit to take our vacation at the same time, and that I would have to work a bit harder to thank him for his good deed, and that my sales weren't getting any better in the last few months. I reminded him that I had the higher number of sales in all of the department, and I was the only one with the extra tasks, but he just told me that it wasn't a big deal and that anyone could have done that. So when I went on vacation, I turned off all of my automated tasks, and this was a big deal since it was the end of the month and my boss would need all my reports completely updated. Apparently, they had to put 5 people to do my tasks so that they could finish the reports, which delayed the work of that team, and the reports were late and lacked a few things that mine had. This was huge since all of the higher-ups weren't happy with my boss since he showed them the reports late, and they were clearly a downgrade from mine. And they also commented that there was a team failing a lot of deadlines that month, which was the team assigned to do my tasks. As soon as I got back to work, I got a call from my boss apologizing for not appreciating my work with the tasks, offering me a bonus, and asking me to not take time off at the end of the month ever again. I told him that it was an unreasonable request, and I reminded him that he already approved of my week off in 2 months, which was apparently still under approval, and he straight up told me that it wasn't going to be approved. I'm not usually an angry person, but I got really upset with this, and then he told me that as long as it wasn't at the end of the month, I could take time off whenever I wanted. Okay, fine. As soon as I got out of the call, I started looking for other jobs, and I scheduled all of my time off, about 3 weeks, to the next month, busiest month for us. This was a big deal since most of the big clients didn't speak English or our native tongue, and they wanted to talk to me, but nevertheless, my boss approved. Subsequently, Jimmy also scheduled time off at the same time, so despite not being end of the month, someone had to do my tasks since I would once again be turning them off. Apparently, they weren't able to handle neither of my clients or my tasks, and they just ignored the tasks until I got back. But some of the clients got really angry since no one could really assist them as well as I could, and I actually got a call on my personal phone from one of them asking me to assist him with my personal time and that he would be really appreciative of it. This was a huge client, and he was actually a great person that had a huge respect for me, so I said it was fine as long as he came to my location. I was on vacation with my family. So long story short, he came with a yacht and invited all of my family to go there and to the villa that he rented. I spent a whole day helping him and setting all of his orders and requests, and he was more than happy to offer me a job once he knew that I was looking for other jobs, since apparently I sent my curriculum to one of his buddies' companies. It was a huge offer with lots of benefits, and the offer would also extend to Jimmy, who was actually going to work for me with a great salary also. In my country, you don't have to give a 2 weeks notice to your boss, so I just quit when I returned and told him that I wouldn't do any of the sales reports. He was upset, but there was nothing that he could do. I'm still with the same company, but with a higher position now. I actually manage a huge team, and I don't really have a schedule. I just have to travel a lot, which is fine with me. Last I checked with a few friends that still work with the old company, they had to hire a whole new team to handle my tasks, and a few of the clients quit because they weren't satisfied with how they were being handled. Next time, you should value your employees more. Am I the jerk for telling my ex-husband that his wife's feelings are not mine or our kids' problem? My ex-husband and I share 3 kids. Our oldest is 15, our middle is 14, and our youngest is 13. We had them very close together, and then our marriage crashed and burned. We were young, unsuited to be together, and we both came from very restrictive households, which pushed us together out of a sense of clawing for freedom. I dated some after our marriage ended and realized I liked being single. He remarried a little over a year after our divorce. His wife is Annie. Annie and I have a complicated dynamic. She adores my kids, but was very jealous in those early days of her marriage to my ex because I had primary custody and he had every other weekend due to the nature of his job. I did not feel like Annie taking time while he was around was a good compromise to him obtaining 50-50, and a judge agreed, stating since Dad would not see the kids during that time, it made sense to keep them with Mom, me. 2 of my 3 kids were not super affectionate in general, but were with me, and more than once she made comments about rubbing it in her face or using my kids to try to hurt her, because the kids would not be the same with her. For 3 or so years, we had a very tense dynamic and my ex was useless. I told him he should be doing better as my co-parent, but he told me his wife was more of the co-parent now. He eventually left the old job and 50-50 began happening. Once 50-50 happened, we had some more issues, mostly because she started calling herself their mom, and I hated that. My kids have only ever called her Annie, and I know they used to say that she wasn't their mom, but I admit I was jealous. I also believe that's what she wanted to have happen. I did get it under control because my kids came first, but it was always annoying when she had already gone out of her way to introduce herself to someone as their mom, and then there was confusion because they called me mom. Things sort of calmed over the last 3 years. We're not close. We're not all one big family, but my kids are safe and looked after, and that's what matters to me. I also had them in therapy from a very young age, so that helped a lot too. Annie recently learned that she will not be able to have a biological kid of her own. She and my ex were trying for years, and she suffered 3 miscarriages at that time. I'm not sure of all of the details, but I do know that this was a blow. They found out the final results of testing last week. My ex told me that he wants the kids to spend more time with them and to be with them for Christmas. I get this year per our agreement. He admitted that the kids do not want to be there, but wanted me to agree anyway, because Annie's feelings and helping her. I told him no. He told me again about Annie's feelings, and I told him her feelings were not mine or our kids' problem. He called me a string of names and told me that Annie's feelings do matter to them because she is their parent. She is their family, and they should have more compassion and empathy for her. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. It's like you said, you and your kids are not responsible for Annie's feelings, and when the kids don't want to be there, you're being a good mom by respecting their wishes. Not the jerk. If your kids don't want to be there, then don't force them to be. It's not their job or yours to make her happy. Not the jerk. Your kids are old enough now to be choosing where they want to spend the holidays with. Maybe your ex and Annie can look into the foster care system. So many lovely kids who through no fault of their own need a mom and dad. Boss missed out on $100 million for treating his employee poorly. I used to work at a consulting company in Asia owned by a baby boomer European guy. Let's call the company COG, and the owner is Jerk. To give a brief background, Jerk spent his entire career working in the hospitality industry for various hotel brands all over the world. At one point, he specialized in one niche area in the industry and set up a consulting firm to provide consultancy to his business connections. The company employees were majority expats. I spent my entire career working in the financial industry, and I'm quite a specialist in the field of capital market fundraising. Jerk approached me with a great plan to list one of his properties in North America in a stock market. At that time, it seemed to be a good project. He also offered me a management position in the company he set up to deal with the listing process and a good salary in comparison to the job I had at the time. The agreement stated that if any party would like to terminate this agreement, they need to inform the other party 3 months in advance. Failing to do so will cost the party who initiated the termination a penalty fee equal to 3 months' salary. This will be relevant later. Unfortunately, I joined the company at the worst possible time, the year end of 2019. Initially, things were all right. Jerk spent only 1 to 2 days a week at the office and spent the rest of the week abroad to acquire new businesses. However, as everyone knows, a few months after that, the lockdown hit the hospitality sectors globally. Jerk lost all his business deals in the pipeline. His property in North America was also shut down. The only income stream for the company was payments from the existing contracts. Jerk got stuck in the office for 7 days a week with not much money in the bank account. This is when he showed his true characteristics. Despite the government's highly encouraged work-from-home policy, Jerk was dissatisfied with the idea. As a boomer, he wanted to see his employees working all the time. He called anyone who chose to work from home as lazy and cowardly. In addition, he would randomly call them several times a day on non-important issues just to ensure everyone was at the desk all the time. Furthermore, he would assign lots of non-necessary tasks. Remember, all business deals were canceled to these people to do so that they would need to stay very late to finish the work. He cut off 20 to 30% salary for all employees, including himself. This seemed acceptable at that time, given the economic conditions. However, this will come up later. He would be upset with anyone in the company who mentioned any news about lockdown. He just wanted to pretend that nothing had happened and that things would be back to normal soon. Due to the lockdown and the financial status of the company, my role significantly shifted from getting a company listed to selling our assets to whoever gives the right price. Thus, the company can survive. During these months, I had to work closely with the company CFO. CFO had a very impressive resume with a degree from an Ivy League university. However, for some reason, there was nothing inside that brain. He could talk about all the financial jargon all day long, but he could not understand even the basic concepts of these words. CFO would make mistakes all the time and trouble other colleagues. For some odd reason, CFO would receive only minor criticism from Jerk. Conversely, if other employees made 1/10 of the mistakes that CFO did, they would receive harsh criticism. We were approached by various buyers. One of them was one of the largest real estate developers in this country. Let's call them Mackey. We had a few meetings with senior executives from Mackey to present our North American properties. They seemed to be interested to invest $100 million in acquiring the property, but then they just disappeared. Later on, we were approached by a private equity firm. Let's call Dummy. Rather than acquiring the property, Dummy made an offer for shares of COG. As a result, a series of due diligence occurred. I had to lead the deal from my side. During the process of document preparation, I found various histories about Jerk and COG. Jerk always claimed to his potential clients that his company had been involved in various projects worth billions of dollars in the past. It was partially true. However, his participation was very limited to less than 1% of those projects. There were a few projects in which COG played a vital role. However, these projects were relatively small. To make matters worse, 100% of them had failed before completion. There were various companies that Jerk claimed to have co-founded or was a part of the key management. However, there were no official records of it. By digging into financial statements, I found out that he paid back all of the money he saved by cutting employee salaries into his personal account as a form of bonus. I felt horrible for working for such a phony. However, at that time, it was in Q4 of 2020. It was way too difficult to get a new job in the middle of lockdown. The last straw came when we were about to submit the financial model to Dummy to set the valuation. I developed a financial model which would calculate all of the potential deals into the valuation. All I needed was the input of pipeline data from CFO. After I plugged in the data, Jerk asked CFO to help review it. CFO complained to everyone that the model was wrong and there were so many mistakes. When I checked, all those mistakes that he mentioned came from those inputs that he provided to me. Garbage in, garbage out. I informed Jerk that it was not my mistake, but the CFO's. However, Jerk criticized me for not being responsible for my own mistakes and said that even though it was CFO's mistake, I was still responsible to verify them. How could I verify the correctness of the raw data? I wanted to quit so badly at this point. Remember the 3-month notice period? This is where it became relevant. Throughout 2020, various employees quit. However, the term became a pain in the butt. It would be highly difficult for anyone to find potential employers who would be willing to wait for 3 months till the notice period is served. Thus, employees had to either pay the penalty fees or put in their resignation in advance before starting to look for another job. For the locals, we could take the risk of staying at home with no job. However, the expats needed to choose either to take a risk in leaving the country or to pay the fees. Most chose to do the latter. The worst thing I experienced about this contract clause was when one of my colleagues, who was one of the first employees of this company, decided to quit because her grandmother was about to pass in a few weeks. Therefore, she wanted to go back as soon as possible to spend the remaining time with her grandmother. Yet, Jerk insisted that she needed to pay the penalty fee. In every meeting, Jerk would try his best to scare everyone by talking about those companies that went bankrupt and trying to remind us to be grateful for having jobs. I held my grudge and waited patiently until February of 2021. The lockdown became better and employers started hiring again. I got 3 offers within the second week of the month. Based on the situation, I knew I would eventually get a job either in these 3 companies or somewhere else. Thus, I submitted my resignation, which would be effective in May. Jerk was furious. He knew he could not lose me at this stage, since I was the only one who could execute with dummy, but he was too arrogant to admit it. Instead, he gave me the worst counteroffer discussion anyone could have. He said that I was a coward for jumping away from the crisis, and I would be a failure all my life if I chose to walk away now. He tried to talk about all the deals that would be coming in, and I would miss out on working on those projects. He said that I should ignore the higher salary that other companies might offer me. The lockdown was harsh for everyone. I should stay to see the company's greatness. In the meantime, I could ask for money from my parents or my wife's parents. Needless to say, the conversation did not change my mind even a bit. With all those efforts failed, he brought up the 3-month notice period. He said that no company would be willing to wait 3 months and that I needed to pay a penalty fee to him if I quit. Unfortunately, this is when his own policy backfired. I intentionally did all of the stupid mistakes that CFO did. When he complained, I simply responded, it was his responsibility to verify the information that I submitted. I did my job very slowly. Thus, he basically had to pay me 3 months' salary for the work I normally completed in 1 week. Whenever he complained, I told him that he could fire me anytime. In that case, he needed to pay me 3 months' salary as a penalty fee. For a person who always takes advantage of his employees, he probably wanted to scream at me. However, this was not the best part yet. By the end of April, HR from Mackie approached me. She said that she got my contact from a business card I gave to the senior executives several months ago. It turned out that the executives were very impressed with my skills. They wanted to hire a new vice president and viewed me as a high potential candidate. I took the offer and started working 2 weeks later. A few months later, Jerk tried to use all of his connections to reach Mackie's chairman to propose his North American property once again. The chairman assigned my team to review the property one more time. Last time, they were interested, but they did not want to make an acquisition in the middle of lockdown. This time, they felt the timing might be right and would like to explore more detail. My boss assigned me to look after the project. Since I knew everything about the property, he let me decide whether we should move forward with the deal. To be honest, the property was fine, and Jerk had improved the property's performance very well since its acquisition. However, a year ago when we first approached Mackie, Jerk explained to me how he would take every penny he could out of Mackie's pockets. To avoid criticizing Jerk directly, I don't want to look like a guy who badmouthed his ex-employer. I pointed out all the loopholes within the business model and explained that we could be taken advantage of from these loopholes if we proceed. Being a smart man, my new boss could sense something fishy about Jerk, so he asked me to speak more about my experience. I told him about some of Jerk's unethical behaviors mentioned above. Mackie's management not only decided not to invest in COG's properties, but they also blacklisted COG and Jerk from being potential vendors. Am I the jerk for telling my brother's new fiance she isn't our kid's aunt? I, male 31, and my wife, female 30, have 2 kids, a son who's 5 and a daughter who's 2. I also have 2 siblings, an older brother who's 35 and a younger brother who's 29. Me and my older brother both have kids. My younger has none and has bounced from fling to fling. However, in 2020, before the lockdown hit, he met this girl who is 23. We'll call her Amber, fake name. From day one, he was obsessed with her. They started dating, and when we thought we'd only meet her once and then never again, she stayed coming around. We were all happy to see my brother get serious about someone, even if they were a bit younger than him. However, as Amber started spending more time around our family, collectively, we all noticed certain things that we didn't like. For just a couple of examples, she would move something in whoever's house we were in and say, "This looks better like this, so I moved it for you." Or she would get into people's stuff and say, "We're family now, so we can share." Such as when she used my sister-in-law's lotions and makeup without even asking. But this was the quote that made us all dislike her. She would constantly talk proudly about how she turned my, quote, "spineless baby brother" into a man. Okay, unnecessary, but he was a player before, so I get the joke. But then she added, "I'll do what your mom couldn't and teach him to be a gentleman." And yes, she really has said that on more than one occasion. We've all mentioned these things to my brother, but he brushes it off and says, "I love her, dude. What can I do?" And well, he proposed to her at the beginning of 2022. And no, she hasn't changed her antics since 2020. Anyway, Amber came over with my brother for my wife's birthday party. Of course, my kids were there too. Amber, in front of a full house of mine and my wife's family, she says, "Oh, it's my favorite niece and nephew," before picking up my daughter. She added, "Am I your favorite auntie?" in a baby voice, as if she was saying it to my daughter. I walked over and took my daughter out of her hands and said in a calm but stern tone, "You're not their aunt, so please don't refer to yourself as their aunt." She seemed taken aback and immediately got defensive, saying, "I'm marrying your brother, so I will be their aunt by marriage." I just shrugged and calmly responded that I didn't care if they got married. She could be Mrs. Amber or Amber, but she was not their aunt. A few people heard and pretended not to, but Amber was upset and left, and my brother came in asking what had happened. After I told him, he said I was a jerk and he took off after Amber. My brother called me that night saying I needed to apologize and take back what I said, but I refused to. My kids hardly know or spend time with her, and she's not very well liked amongst our family. So, am I the jerk? You're the jerk. You can dislike her and keep her away from your kids all you want, but she will in fact be their aunt. Ha, no. If the parents don't want to give that label, she doesn't get it. She will be their uncle's wife. People's cultures and families are different, and labels are dished out differently. Everyone sucks here. I think you all suck. The way you handled it was inappropriate. She will be your family by marriage, therefore she will be their aunt by marriage. Also, Amber sucks. She needs to know what her place is. The statement she made about your mother and brother is a big no-no. But you talked to your brother, not to Amber. I'm not saying it would have changed anything, but perhaps it would have. Not the jerk. You don't have to consider her family. Sometimes, even blood doesn't mean much. It's really your call. I think people are getting caught up in technical terms. I called basically any adult that I liked and that my parents liked and her uncle. Those terms are often terms of love or respect, as well as an official term. If she doesn't act like what OP or her kids feel like an aunt should, then she's not their aunt in any way that matters. My wife had a headache and demanded I make my kids be quiet. Been with my wife for 2 years. I have 2 kids from a previous relationship who are 5 and 8. Currently 7 months pregnant, been married and living together for 5 months. It's been an adaptation for everyone, mostly the kids. During our relationship, even before living together, I knew my wife got the occasional headache. She takes painkillers but says they don't help, so she'll usually spend the day in our bedroom and sleep. Kids are at home and wife has a headache. I'm working from home. Kids are doing what they normally do, playing. Wife texts me asking to keep them from making so much noise. I was in a meeting when she texted, so I didn't actually look at it until an hour later. She's upset, but the way I see it is that it's the kids' home. They're playing. What am I supposed to say? My wife has a headache. Go read a book. I don't think I'm the jerk. Wife does. Figured I'd ask here. Am I the jerk? You're the jerk. Not seeing the text for an hour is acceptable. Refusing to teach your kids empathy makes you a jerk. You could have easily told your kids that their stepmom has a headache and that noise is really bothering her. Could they do something more quiet? You shouldn't be angry at them if they fail, but you should slowly teach them to be aware of others and respect their needs, within reason. My brother's girlfriend is scamming him. My brother, 32 male, and I, 29 female, are very close. We started a business together a few years ago, and it's going far better than we expected. As a consequence, he makes a lot of money. 1 year ago, he met a 28-year-old girl. She told him she was a high-paid executive in a famous company. He told me he wanted to date a woman with ambition and a successful career because he wanted them to be on an equal step. He fell deeply in love with her. I met her not long after, and she was funny and sweet, so we got along great. My brother moved in with her, but just before it happened, she said she was sick and had to quit her job. After that, he paid for every health appointment to try and diagnose her because she has no savings. He also is the only provider of their house since she doesn't work anymore. She loves to buy expensive items with his card. It has been going on for 7 months, and the doctor said they couldn't find anything. These past few months, I kept thinking about how it's weird she has no savings, even though she's supposed to have had a big salary, and he never met anybody from her work. There's no medical proof that she is sick. Anyway, they went to my house for dinner, and she told me she was still feeling too ill to work. 20 minutes later, she was talking about the new coat she bought with his money, and I made a comment about how she wasn't too sick to shop. My brother was very upset and got up to talk to me. I told him my concern, that she was a scammer, and he said I was a jerk for insulting her and thinking she didn't love him. She left, and he refuses to talk to me anymore. I don't know if I should apologize. Am I the jerk? You're the jerk. You're conflating multiple unrelated things, none of which make you look good. 1. You don't actually seem to have any evidence that she didn't have the job she said she did. Your only proof is that she doesn't have any savings and that she got sick. Lots of people make huge salaries and have no savings to show for it. It doesn't make them liars, just bad with money. And people are allowed to stop working because they become disabled and can no longer do their jobs. It's a real thing. It happens to many, many, many people, unfortunately. 2. Her doctors may not have found out what's making her sick yet, but that doesn't make her less ill. Life is not a TV show where people get easily diagnosed in 60 minutes, and doctors vow not to sleep until they have an answer. Many, many serious illnesses can take years to diagnose. I was sick for 2 full years and had countless tests come back fine because my lifelong, debilitating, incurable neuroimmune system doesn't have clear markers or a simple diagnostic test. There are millions of people like me who are incredibly ill and not easily diagnosed. After years of involvement in the disability and chronic illness community, I can tell you that in fact, taking a long time to be diagnosed is more common than not. 3. The only remotely valid complaint you seem to have here that you have any actual evidence for beyond your sisterly instincts is that she spends a lot of your brother's money, which is none of your business. Your brother is a grown man who has chosen to support the woman he loves through a difficult time. If he feels taken advantage of, he'll say so. You're infantilizing him, and it's gross. And by the way, you would be the jerk alone for your "she's not too sick to shop" comment. Buying something online or even going to a store for a short while does not require anywhere near the same expenditure of energy or strength as carrying even a part-time job. Sick and disabled people are allowed to have lives and do normal things, like shop. We don't exist in some sort of dollhouse sitting still 24/7. We're human beings with needs just like everyone else. Just because a person can do one thing doesn't mean that they can do every completely unrelated thing that you think they should. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.